And hello, and thank you all for joining us here on a very early edition of the Victory Lap. I am James Boss. Joined alongside me is Shane Tinney. Shane, how we feeling?
I'm feeling good tonight. It's good
Fresh cut, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Shout out my guy Jordan at Utica's Finest. Check him out if anyone needs a cut. But we're feeling good. We took a week off, enjoyed Thanksgiving, and good to be back.
Certainly did enjoy Thanksgiving. It was a very, very nice time. Loved watching some football that I did not end up very happy on for, I think, all of those games. Maybe I didn't really care about the last one, but the Lions lost, and that made me upset.
Two of the games were enjoyable for me to watch, but that middle one,
middle one stood out.
That Giants team against the Cowboys, that one, we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we certainly will. But to kick off this early and most likely extra long episode, we would like to start with the NBA, and specifically with the Los Angeles Lakers. Do we think they are finally turning it around?
Well, compared to when we last talked about them, they have certainly turned it around, because the last couple weeks ago when we talked about them, we were talking about them like they were like the worst team in the league, and quite frankly, they were. But over the past week or so, I think the key has been Anthony Davis has been playing like a monster. Like, this is the New Orleans Anthony Davis that they need. And he's now up to 12.8 rebounds a game, which leads the league. And he's up to 2.3 blocks, which is third in the league. So I think him playing better is what this team needs. And especially in LeBron's absence, he really stepped up. So I think the best way to put it, they stopped the bleeding, right? I think they were 2-8, 2-9 or something at one point. So they obviously have a better record now, but I think they're on the right track, but they still got work to do for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're on the right track, but I still don't believe in this team at all. I mean, they haven't beaten a good team really on this run. The best team they've beat is the Nets, and that's the other team that we have slandered rather hard this year.
We have.
For valid reasons. And so I'm not really looking at this win streak as something that real. I mean, they've won 6 of their last 8, which is good.
Yep.
But they beat the Nets, they beat the Pistons, they beat the Spurs 3 times, and then they beat the Trailblazers, who have been free falling. So it's not like they're really beating anyone very good. And while I will say you can't control your schedule, you can only do what is given to you. And
who's on the schedule.
And they have played who is on the schedule rather well.
Mm-hmm.
And they did beat the Spurs by 31 one time, which is always a good thing. If you win by 30, good job. Doesn't matter who you're playing, good job. But they're not really blowing teams out. Other than that, I mean, they beat the Trailblazers by a lot, but Portland's been horrible. And let's not forget about the 17-point fourth quarter lead they just blew to the Pacers. You can't really let that slide now, can you?
No. And they were obviously in a position to win that game. If they take that one, they're looking good, because they had a stretch. They won 5 out of 6. And it's they were really stringing together some wins. I think, like I mentioned, I think AD, the way he's been playing, that's what they need.
Yeah.
And I feel like him playing like that, you're finally kind of sort of seeing LeBron kind of passing the torch a little bit in a sense. So I think with this team, it's going to go as he goes, and LeBron obviously is going to play a part to that too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously LeBron is going to always be good. I really do like what I'm seeing from Anthony Davis, and while I know this will not happen because the Lakers front office is stubborn, this is the best time they can ever have to trade Anthony Davis. His value will never be higher. He's healthy, and he's playing out of his mind.
That's true.
He's not going to be healthy for much longer. I think anybody who watches basketball knows that is a fact. So you should probably get rid of him while you still can, because once he gets hurt, teams aren't going to take him. So I really do think this Lakers team can't win, because I don't think Davis is going to be healthy for playoffs, because he hasn't been. The only year he was the bubble year. And that
he was
year,
a monster that year.
And he was a monster, but he had 3 months off. So it's I don't really look at that as it's a title, don't get me wrong, but it's not a real title, if you ask me. Like, I don't see it as being a legitimate one, especially when you compare it to other ones. And so I don't really see that Anthony Davis playoff as a real playoff for him either, because he didn't have to play a whole year before that. He played half a season, then it got cut, and then he sat down on his couch for 3 months, and then he got healthy, and then they said, all right, now you can play basketball again. And of course he's going to be of course he's going to be fresh. Of course he's going to be healthy for a playoffs. Of course he's going to play well.
Yep.
We haven't seen that other than that 1 year for him, really. And I think at the end of the day, they got to just move on from him. And I know they won't, because if they would have, if they were gonna, they would have done it already.
Yeah, they won't. And yeah, I mean, you said it. If they were to have like a time where they want to rebuild this team, yeah, right now, because he's been pretty healthy most of the year. I mean, he's averaging 26 a game. He's like, his field goal percentage is, I think, up to like 57% almost. Like, he honestly is playing like, I think before the year, Kevin Garnett said like on a podcast, like, Anthony Davis's goal this year is to prove everyone wrong, shut everyone up, and play at an MVP level, because he has the talent and the capabilities to do that. And I still believe he does.
Yep.
Like, a healthy Anthony Davis is a top 5, top 10 in the league still.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think he can still, because the bubble season, that was 2 years ago. He's still in his 20s. Like, he can get back to that. But obviously over the years, like, health has been an issue for him. And this year, it's not. It's been LeBron that's been missed a bunch of games, which,
I mean, LeBron's been missing games recently too for the Lakers, so it's not.
yeah,
So both of them are injury risks, really.
yeah. Honestly, ever since LeBron came to LA, he's kind of become injury prone. But the guy's about to turn 38 this month, so I don't know how. I mean, that's you're kind of expected when you get up to that and played as many minutes as he has over his career. But when you talk about this team, like, obviously, like, you look at the big three, AD, Bron, and Russ, like, I still think it remains to be seen whether this three can work or not, because last season, I think they played like 20 or 21 games together. That's it. That, like, as shaky as Westbrook looked last year, we can all agree to that. That was his worst season of his career, right?
Hands down.
Yeah, and I think 20, 21 games, that's a small sample size. So, I don't know, this year, can they kind of turn the corner? And I think the only thing staying in their way, the Western Conference is loaded. So it's like, you start going down the list. Are they better than all these other teams that are like your top 8 seeds? So I think that's what's going to get in their way, is just simply other teams just being more talented and better than them.
Yeah, I think one thing to look at for Anthony Davis, since joining the Lakers, he has missed at least 20 games every season.
Sounds about right.
Even the bubble year, when they only played, they played less than 70 games as each. I don't remember exactly how many of the Lakers ended up playing. He only played 36. Like, he played 62 was the most that he's played in a full season, and that was his very first year with the team. Since that, he has played 36 games, 40 games, and now so far this year he's played 18, which I don't know exactly how many he's missed. Probably was like 3 or 4 games about.
He's been in the lineup most nights.
Yeah, he's missed a couple, but not too many games, which, I mean, you'll take, honestly, especially considering him. You'll take that. They've played 20 games. He's played in 18 of them. Like, that's good. I'm happy with that. LeBron is obviously, as you said, missed games. I'm interested to see, exactly how many he's going to end up with this year, because I mean, he's been injury prone for him too his whole career. And so it's like you have those guys who have just haven't been able to stay on the floor. Yeah, LeBron only played 56 games last year.
Yep.
I mean, he only played 45 in the bubble year, 67 before that, 55 before that. Like, he hasn't been healthy. Like, neither of those guys have been models of consistency when it comes to staying on the floor. Obviously, LeBron takes more rest days than most people do, but it's like,
you deserve that at your age.
He does. He certainly does. But you can't count on both of them to continue to be on the floor and producing at the level that they are right now because they haven't been able to do that recently.
Yeah. I don't know. And ever since Westbrook has come off the bench, like, I don't know, that seems like it's been going well for him too. And I think he's kind of finally accepted that role because obviously we know like that couldn't have been the easiest transition for him. Like in preseason, I remember it was brought up or something, and I don't think that he took that very well. And you can only imagine like how tough that must be of a transition. Like you're a Hall of Fame player, like you are, like he knows he is, and now it's like you're at the stage of your career where you come off the bench. So like that's a tough transition to go through, and I don't know. So far, he's kind of played pretty well in that role. So I don't know. It's gonna be, can they keep this up? Because they're on a pretty good stretch right now. Like you said, 6 out of the last 8. So I don't know. They play the Bucks tomorrow night? So
good luck.
That'll be a
good luck.
That'll be a true test for sure.
Yeah, I don't see this really lasting a whole lot longer. Their schedule starts to actually, get difficult. Like you said, they play the Bucks, then they get the Wiz, which, I mean, the Washington's not good, but they've been solid this year. They're 500. And then they go and they play Cleveland, who I think is a good team. They've stumbled a little, but they're still very good. Toronto is still good. The Sixers are still good. And then they get the Pistons again, but then they get Boston. It's like their schedule is only going to get harder. If we come back, not next week, but the week after, because we will be off next week. If they come back after that and are still good after that stretch, then I will stop my slander and take them seriously as a team. But until they can actually prove that they can go out and beat teams that are better than them, I'm not going to care.
Yeah, because right, like they've looked good recently, but they're 8-12. Is that good?
No,
it's not.
No, if you're below 500 and you have LeBron and Anthony Davis on a team, it's bad.
Right. Like if we just look at their record, all like winning streaks aside and everything, you're 8-12. That's not good. You're not one of the better teams in the league.
No.
But of course, they're trending in the right way. So
yes. And at the end of the day, that's all you can really ask for out of this team.
Yep.
But I think moving off of basketball, not going to stay there for a whole lot. We will move over to football, in which we will stay for the rest of the night. Starting with football, we mentioned them earlier. The New York Giants lost in rather humiliating fashion to the Dallas Cowboys. Is this finally time to start worrying about this team?
Yes, it is. So they played Dallas, right? In the first half of that game, we're hanging with them. Like up until halftime, you were feeling good going into the half. Like, okay, in the second half, tune up a couple things. We're in this game. And then the second half, you just Dallas is just better than us. As much as that hurts to say, the Cowboys are, first of all, looked like one of the best teams in the league over the past few weeks. They really have. And I think that this game was definitely a test for the Giants. And I think where this game changed was that fourth down play. That throw from Danny Dimes to Saquon, those are the plays. You just got to make those plays. Like, it wasn't the worst pass, but it wasn't the best one either. Like, Saquon got a hand on it. He could have caught it, but he shouldn't have had to reach for that ball. That was a simple, like, cross route to the sideline. Like, it's just plays like those that Daniel Jones still can sometimes struggle to make. And from that point, that's where the game started to shift, I think. We saw it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was a bad pass by not a good quarterback. That was a bad pass that proved Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback.
Right, yeah, like...
you have to make that throw.
You gotta make that play. It's just the must-have things. It's gotta happen. And they've lost 3 out of 4 now. They started, I think, 6-1, 7-1. They were off to a very good start. But I can also acknowledge they've had a pretty light schedule. And looking at the second half of the season, they don't have a light schedule. It's very heavy.
Yeah, it is, in fact, the hardest strength of schedule out of every team left in football.
Yeah. I mean, we play the Eagles twice. We play the Vikings. I mean, that alone. The Eagles, I don't know, first of all, I don't know why we wait this late in the season to play the Eagles twice now. Whoever made the schedules or whatever. But, yeah, and Saquon, 39 yards against the Cowboys. The week before, 22 against the Lions. He's the reason, a big reason we're winning games. And when your best player gets shut out and effectively taken out of the game, you're going to lose. They lean so heavy on Saquon, and he was effectively removed from that game and got extremely outplayed by Tony Pollard.
Which, in all fairness,
and Zeke.
Tony Pollard is actually a very good running back.
Tony Pollard is good.
I mean, he should. This is not the topic, but he should start over Zeke. He should.
I agree.
He's one of the. I honestly think he's probably top 10 in all of the league. He is
sure
that dynamic. But I mean, Saquon. I mean, yeah, this offense lives and dies by Saquon and the defense. It was only a matter of time until that was going to run out, because Daniel Jones, he looked pretty good in the start of the year.
Yeah,
but he's looked awful lately. He hasn't looked good, and he looked abysmal against the Cowboys. And yeah, Saquon. I mean, what? How many is that, like, over the last 2 weeks? Is it even 60 yards over the last 2 weeks? I mean, you can't be letting that slide when you're supposed to be one of the best running backs in all of football. I don't know. It's obviously not all Saquon. The offensive line isn't great, and the defense knows that they can just effectively only care about Saquon, and they'll probably win the game. And they can probably take him out of the game if they do that.
Yep.
And they have, but like, it's really tough to watch this Giants team turn into this, because I kind of liked them going into the year, and I know you love this team. And while as much fun as I have watching you suffer, it's not worth it. I don't want to see them lose to the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys a lot, and I know you hate them even more than I do.
Mm-hmm. And it's just very unfortunate that Daniel Jones he's still a question mark. But it's like, I almost don't know where to start, because you look at Daniel Jones, he's being pressured 38.5% of the time. That is the third highest in the league. So that's not good. And who are the receivers he's throwing to?
Hey.
Darius Slayton has looked good and can make plays.
Don't hate on Slayton. Big play Slay
has stepped up for sure. But when you combine, he's getting pressured almost over a third of the time. He's really got no stud of a wide receiver to throw to. How much of it is him? Like, of course he can play better. And I think, honestly, that fourth down pass to Saquon was a perfect example of, like, plays where he's like, he's almost there, he's like right in there, but he just messes it up just enough. But I don't know. It's like, who do you blame here? It's not Brian Dable.
It's certainly not
Dable. It's
not Dable. I really like Dable. It has to be Daniel Jones. There's no one else you can really blame. I mean, well, it's Daniel Jones and the offensive line. The offensive line is not good.
No.
And that's going to make the entire offense look bad a lot of the time. But even when Daniel Jones has time, he doesn't look good anymore. Like, he looks solid to start the year, but now he looks bad. And at some point, they have to give up on him.
That's going to be it, too. I think this stretch of games for him is huge. I think it's going to determine whether he suits up in a Giants uniform next year, or if they look elsewhere for a QB, because it kind of felt like up until this point he was looking good. It was like, okay, maybe we can make this work with him. But now it's like, okay, now we're playing good teams, and he just hasn't looked as dominant. So I don't know. This last stretch is crucial for him.
It is, and I am very, very interested to see how the game this weekend goes against Taylor Heineke, because I don't think the Giants want that. I don't think they want that at all right now.
You got to win that game.
They got to win that game.
Got to win that game.
I am saying I think it's going to be a big, big Terry McLaurin game. Adoree Jackson still doesn't look like he's going to play this week, and I mean, you saw CD absolutely cook that Giants defense.
He did.
Scary Terry.
Man, he did.
Scary Terry is a very good receiver. And Taylor Heineke knows how to win football games. No one knows how, but he still does it.
Yeah, he's a gamer.
I
like Taylor Heineke.
We both like Taylor Heineke. He's a very scrappy quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, that's the best way you can to define him. I mean, that's really the way you define that whole team.
They compete.
They do.
Will fight you for the whole game. Yep.
And I mean, it's got them 7 wins, as many wins as the Giants.
This is why, like, this game, obviously for them too, this is a huge game because the Giants lose, you're in last place now. And of course, since for whatever reason, the NFC East is like one of the best divisions in football this year, which is, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. And if the season ended right now, all of those teams are in the playoffs, which is insane. But, man, the stretch the Giants have been on, you got to pull out a win here.
They have to, and I don't think they will. But moving on to another thing slightly related to the Giants, let's talk about where we think Odell Beckham Jr. is going to go. Shane, little bit of a premature celebration there, catching you off on a loop. Where do you think he's going?
So, what are the teams in the rumors right now? Obviously, Cowboys, Giants. I heard the Bills. Am I missing any of them? I think it's those 3.
I haven't heard any others, but I will like to throw one other hat in the ring. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs should go after him. I don't think they have. I have not heard anything about them looking into it, but I think they should.
Okay. But like the 3 we've heard about is the Cowboys, Giants, Bills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as much as this hurts, the team that makes sense for him probably is the Cowboys. For the Giants' sake, we need him. We need a good receiver like him because we love big play Darius Slayton.
Yes, we do.
We do. He stepped up, but
we also love Richie James.
Richie James also. And we also love Kenny Golladay. But
no, you don't. Stop lying.
Kenny Golladay is my favorite receiver in the league. I have his jersey. Anyways, I would love for Odell.
Has he had as many yards as it cost to buy that jersey?
No, he hasn't. He's still at 22, I believe. It's still at 22. That's a whole nother issue. Which is why we need Odell, because of the way he's played and everyone else. And it would give Daniel Jones a reliable target to throw to. But I think obviously, Odell's first few years in the league, he was electric. He was this home run hitting receiver, come out with the big plays, game-changing receiver. Is he still at that point in his career? He's been plagued like crazy by injuries. So I don't know how. I mean, we saw him last year with the Rams. He looked pretty good. He caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And I think he's still got some left in the tank. And with that said, he's 30 years old now. I believe he's 30. And he's going to want to go to a team that can compete for a title. And I really can't blame him for that. So, and I think if you go to Dallas, that's a squad. The Bills too, but you throw him in there with him, CD, and obviously Pollard and Zeke.
Gallup. Don't sleep on Michael Gallup.
Michael Gallup too, yeah. And
Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz, that
two-touch Schultz.
Two-touch, yes. That's an offense right there. That's a squad. So I think probably the best situation for him, probably Dallas, and he would not be playing on the forbidden turf in MetLife Stadium too.
That is true. I honestly think that turf might be the only reason he doesn't sign with the Giants, because the Giants will give him money.
Yep.
I would have to assume they need him more than either of those two teams combined times 10.
I agree.
And I mean, he's played there before. I mean, he has a good rapport with I'd assume all of management there and the people there, it seems like at least. It doesn't seem like he holds any bad blood.
Not him.
And I can't imagine they would to him
Unless
either.
they're mad at him for his antics on the sideline.
I don't think anyone even remembers about those anymore. I know I don't.
I don't either.
I think he's a completely...
Obviously I do, because I just brought it up. But
You do.
I don't think it was a big deal, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think... And so...
He'd get mad because they would lose.
Yeah, which is, I think, a reasonable
Sure.
response to losing, I
Because
would hope.
those teams were awful.
They were horrible, and he was not.
Yeah.
I mean, what more? I don't think you can really get mad at a guy for being upset on the sidelines. But I don't see him going to the Giants. Honestly, I don't really think he's going to the Cowboys either. I don't think they need him enough to want to pay him that much, pay him very much money. They don't need him at all, honestly.
Good point.
I think the Bills might. I think they don't need him a whole lot either, but I wouldn't be surprised if they look into him. But they have, Gabe Davis has 1 4-touchdown game in him for the playoffs. Stephon Diggs is Stephon Diggs. And Isaiah McKenzie looked very good last weekend. Granted, he hasn't ever before, really. So it's like, I don't know if they don't need Odell. They might want him. But honestly, I threw it, I know that the Chiefs aren't in the running, but, as fits go, that's about as good a fit for him as possible. I don't think there's a single offense anyone would rather play in than Kansas City and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
You toss in, the greatest offensive-minded head coach in all of football and the greatest quarterback in all of football, and you mix that with the receiving core that, while it's been solid this year, it doesn't have a true number one. Obviously their number one option is Travis Kelce because he is the greatest tight end to ever walk. I think really having Odell would make a great fit in KC. Granted, I don't think either of us have heard anything about it yet. I know I haven't. I don't think you have.
No.
I don't know if it's a real thing. I just think it should be.
Yeah, and so my thing is it too much to ask of him at this stage to be a wide receiver 1 on a team?
I think it kind of is.
Because last year...
Especially coming off the injury.
Yeah, and we saw last year how, what he did for that Rams offense, just in terms of his presence, because it's you got to deal with Cooper Kupp last year. You can't really double Cooper Kupp because you got Odell to throw to. Just being almost even a decoy just on that field really just opened up a whole new dynamic for the Rams. As we saw, they closed out the season great last year. But if he wants to play somewhere where he's going to get the most targets on the Giants, I'd say. He's going to get the most looks on the Giants. And I would like to think we would pay him the most because like you said, I think if it's a team that needs him the most, it's the Giants. So, and he needs to stop playing, first of all. He's tweeting, "I miss Saquon," and there was a tweet about MetLife switching to grass or getting rid of their turf now or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He replies with a bunch of heart eyes emojis. What are we waiting for? Come home.
Well,
We're all waiting.
I think maybe he's waiting so when he signs with Dallas and he has to play 1 game a year in MetLife, he won't have to worry about tearing his ACL for the second time.
Second or third?
Well, I
third.
think he might have torn both of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was both or just one twice because he's had 2 different ACL tears.
Yep.
So I don't think he wants the trifecta there. Lucky number is not always 3 when it comes to torn ACLs, so I don't think I think maybe that's what that was. Maybe he's just, when he's with Dallas and Dak, he doesn't have to worry about his knees when he's playing on MetLife anymore and torching the Giants for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. What can you imagine that happening?
It's not happening.
Can you imagine?
Not happening.
Watch him
go back to the Browns with Sean.
I want to see Odell hit the nay-nay on the touchdown. Score on the Giants.
That would be actually evil.
Yeah.
It really would be.
Yeah.
But
I would live for it.
Another team. I'm gonna throw this one in here too.
Okay.
What about the Eagles?
I don't know. I see the Eagles as they already have a solid 2 receiver combo, and they really run the ball a lot.
Yeah, as we saw.
Yeah, as we saw, as we will get into more later. I don't really love. I mean, they certainly probably would take an Odell Beckham, but they don't need an Odell. I mean, Odell would probably happily go to the Eagles because he wouldn't have to do a whole lot, and he'll probably get a ring by the end of the year, at least at this rate. And so, I mean, he'd like to play there. I think the Eagles would like him, but they don't care that much, I think. I don't think that's really a real spot for him. But I don't know. What I do know, though, is that we will step away for a brief break. Other side of this, we will have football for most likely the rest of the hour, so I would like to thank everybody for joining us here on the Victory Lap, as we will be back very soon. And thank you all for joining us here on the Victory Lap, as we are just about ready to get underway for the second half of the show tonight. I am James Boss. Joined alongside me is Shane Tinney. I would like to thank everybody for listening to us here at WPNR 90.7 FM Utica. But we are going to look at probably, I think, our favorite thing on the night. Mike White has arrived. Did he just take Zach Wilson's job?
Well, I think he's certainly on a good path to, right? With the comments that Zach Wilson has made to the media. I don't think the door is completely slammed on Zach Wilson. But I think he's on a very thin ice because he sounded and acted, honestly, like a little kid to the media and just how he handled that whole situation. And we saw it. Mike White looked great.
Yep.
They played the Bears, sure. And the Bears' defense is awful.
Yes.
So, Mike White, you kind of came into this one with a pretty easy game.
Easy game, but, I mean, I assume you're about to say this. He absolutely popped off. It doesn't matter how easy of a game it was.
Yeah, he did. And, yeah, the famous stat, he had 3 touchdowns. Zach Wilson had 4 all year. So, I don't know. Do you shift completely to Mike White? I don't know if it's like, yes, 100%, but I don't know. Who's starting for them this weekend?
Mike White. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to go back to Zach Wilson. You saw the picture of him on the sideline with the hood up while they were winning. Like, Zach Wilson is such a baby. Yeah. Honestly, he has no maturity. He's not good.
No.
Like, if he was good, maybe he'd get a pass for it, but he sucks. Like, you said it. Mike White in one game almost threw as many touchdowns as Zach Wilson did in 7.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable as a quarterback, especially as the second overall pick.
Yeah, and one thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about, even Joe Flacco in the beginning of the season looked pretty good.
Joe Flacco threw more touchdowns than Zach Wilson did.
He threw 4 against the Browns in one game.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco, like, for a minute there, I was like, okay, is this the resurrection of Joe Flacco? He looked pretty good. And there was a stretch there, he was like top 5 in passing yards for a few weeks there.
Yep.
So even Joe Flacco's kind of outplaying Zach Wilson this year.
Yeah, in 2 games, Joe Flacco threw more touchdowns than Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I love Zach Wilson for his extracurricular activities off the field, but he's horrible. Like, he is bad. And Mike White, he is one of 2 quarterbacks to have ever thrown for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in multiple games in their first 4 starts. The only other person who's done that is Patrick Mahomes.
It's good company.
That's as good a company as it gets.
Yep.
And so maybe Mike White isn't actually that future of the world, future of the Jets.
Sure he is.
I mean, I think he is. But obviously he's got more talent than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson hasn't proved that he can do much of anything on a football field. And you could give him the pass that last year was the rookie year, but this year he's got Saleh, who's a good coach. It sure seems like.
Yep.
He's got solid guys around him. I mean, Elijah Moore, is much of a head case as he might be, he's pretty talented. Garrett Wilson looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Breece Hall,
when he was on the field, was fantastic. So, like, I don't really think you can use the excuse for Zach Wilson that he hasn't had talent around him, because he has, and he just didn't do anything with it. So there is absolutely no reason that I think he should get this starting job. Mike White has shown the ability to utilize said talent that's around him and actually play good football. And I mean, yeah, 1,000 times yes, I think Mike White has stolen his job, because Mike White makes people want to play football with him.
Yeah, and so I just want to take a look at Zach Wilson's 5 wins this year. First one, he beat the Steelers. Is that enough said?
I mean, it was the Steelers without TJ Watt, so the very bad Steelers.
Okay, next. The Dolphins without Tua. Zach Wilson didn't throw a single touchdown pass, and that out of 40 points, he threw no touchdown passes. Next one, you beat the Packers. He also threw 0 touchdowns and 110 passing yards. Next one, you beat the Broncos without Russ, for what it's worth. 121 passing yards, 0 touchdowns. In the last one, you could look at this one and say it's a respectable one. He beat the Buffalo Bills. But that was a game where Josh Allen's elbow was, I think that was that game where he wasn't 100% healthy. So, he won 5 games this year, but was he the sole reason they won any of those games?
No.
Not even a little.
I don't think he was the reason. I don't think he even was the reason they won any of those games. Not let alone sole reason. I don't think he really even played into any of those, really. The only one you can kind of give him a pass for is Pittsburgh. That was a good win for him. I mean, obviously Pittsburgh wasn't a very good team at the time, but Wilson had to do something to win that game, and he did. Mm-hmm. And so at least for that, I'll give him some credit. But other than that, he didn't do anything. I mean, he really didn't do anything. I mean, the Miami game is the most amazing. You score 40 points, and he had none of them.
Not a single touchdown out of 40 points.
And so I think with that, it's like, you can't really look at the guy and say, oh, yeah, he's worthy of a starting job because he had 5 wins. No, he doesn't deserve any of that. He was bad. He was, like, legitimately bad.
Yeah, and of course, sure, it looks good on the stat sheet. You got
great on the stat sheet.
You got 5 wins. Yeah, but when you start to kind of unpack the numbers a little bit, you kind of see what's really going on.
Yep.
And the other thing, while I said earlier, I don't think it's completely, the door is not completely closed on Zach Wilson while it's getting there. Like, the Jets are, I think, a very good team this year. They do not have the time to be experimenting around with quarterbacks. So I think Mike White is another, maybe even one more good game away from, okay, we're moving on with Mike White, because they're making a playoff push. They don't have time. Like, maybe if the Jets were like had a bad record and they were like already eliminated from the playoffs, you can maybe experiment a little bit. But they're not in that position this year. So, man, I think, yeah, Zach Wilson, you're on thin ice, very thin ice.
Yeah, and I mean, rightfully so. He's had one game. He had the one 355-yard game against the Pats in their first loss, but at the same time, that was their first game without Breece Hall, and they kind of said, hey, Zach, we're still figuring out the running back position. How about you just throw it every single play? And that's what it kind of turned into. And they still ended up losing anyway, so who really cares what he did? They scored 17 points. So, yeah, Zach Wilson, horrible. Mike White, absolute living legend. We love Mike White. God-tier player. He's thrown more 3-touchdown games in the last two years than Derek Carr has.
Imagine that.
Imagine.
What everybody had drawn up, right?
Yep, that's what I had drawn up.
Yeah.
I will say congrats, Derek. You finally broke the streak.
They did.
He did. Granted, he got carried very hard.
A win is a win. They won the game.
A win is a win.
Found a way to win, sure.
A win is a win is a win. Josh Jacobs, hats off.
Man.
Hats off. I mean,
no fantasy owners were happy with that one.
They were. I mean, did you know that Josh Jacobs had more rushing yards than the Giants had yards of offense? He had more total yards than the Giants had yards of offense.
That's a pretty neat stat.
It's a neat stat, isn't it? You had more than a lot of teams, if we're being completely honest, but the Giants were one of them.
I can't really say I'm surprised.
No, he shouldn't be.
Because we didn't really do a whole lot.
No, and Jacobs did a lot. He really did. But moving off of the Jets and into the division as a whole, the AFC East, you could argue, has been the best division in all of football. Who do we think is the best team in that division?
I feel like you're going to disagree with this one. It's the Dolphins. It is.
I will not disagree with that one.
I'm surprised. For me, it's the Dolphins. And coming into the year, and even the first, good half of the year, first few games, it was the Bills. The Bills are one of the best teams in the league, or at least were. But as of late, they have looked shaky. And I don't know if that's because of Allen's injury or what's going on, but they have not been the dominant Buffalo Bills we kind of were used to seeing. And he has been intercepted in the red zone 4 of the past 5 games. That's compared to twice in his previous 67 games. So they've had issues in the red zone this year. And it's just, you look at the Dolphins, I don't care who Tua is throwing to. Tua has looked great. That offense is lethal with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Who wants to play the Dolphins right now in the playoffs? Who's going to want to face them in the first round?
Absolutely nobody. Nobody wants to play the Dolphins right now. I think they are the 4th best team in all of football and the best team in the AFC East. I will stand by this. I don't think Tua is a good quarterback. I still don't think he's a good quarterback. I don't care the numbers he's putting up. He has not convinced me because he has not really actually made any throws to make me think.
He's in the MVP running.
He is, and that's the thing. This Dolphins supporting cast is so good. This receiving core is so good that Tua Tagovailoa is in the MVP running. That should never be a sentence that should ever be spoken out loud.
It is now.
It is now, and
Shout
that
out
is
Mike
what
McDaniel, too.
and that is what makes this team so good. And you're just saying everything that I want to say right now because Mike McDaniel is one of the best coaches in all football. He might just be the best coach in football right now. I mean, we're going to talk about it a little more later, but honestly, the Dolphins look so dominant and really every aspect of the game right now. The defense isn't looking fantastic, but it's looking pretty good the last couple of weeks. They've held teams to 17 and 15. I understand it's the Browns and the Texans. Neither of them are very good, but holding teams below 20 points is always going to be impressive.
Yep.
And they've done that the last couple of games. I legitimately think this Dolphins team is a Super Bowl team, which makes no sense because Tua sucks. And I wouldn't think that Tua could lead a team to be this good. But Tua, in the 9 games the Dolphins and Tua are 9-0 in games that he has started and finished. I may not think he's that great, but that says something. It certainly says something because Teddy couldn't find a way to win with the weapons that Tua had, but Tua has, and Tua's putting up incredible numbers. I still don't think he's that great, but I don't think it matters at this point. Honestly, they've been able to. I mean, they're the best team in that division. They are 8-3.
Yep.
What more do you need?
Yeah, and you talk about Tua all you want. Who leads the league in QBR right now?
I'm gonna guess Tua.
That would be Tua with an 82.8. And since he was knocked out cold, he's thrown 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And, of course, this wide receiver duo might, I don't know, that's up there for best of ever.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyreek and Jalen, it's just insane. So, just them two alone. And I think another thing, like I mentioned, Mike McDaniel seems to have just really unlocked Tua, I guess, for lack of better words, and gave him the confidence. And, you see him on the sideline talking with each other and stuff. The trust is there, and, that chemistry is there between them. And I think that's what's kind of been key for them. It's because everyone was talking bad about Tua going into the year. And to say the least, he's proved everyone wrong.
I mean, he's certainly statistically proved everyone wrong.
Statistically.
I want to see him learn how to throw a ball more than 20 yards downfield effectively.
You don't need to.
Obviously, you don't need to because he has not had to.
Tyreek's down there somewhere.
Because if he chucks it, Tyreek will catch up to it. Even if he has to run backwards 15 yards,
Yep.
he will get there, and he will get there before anyone on the defense, and so will Jalen Waddle. like, this Dolphins team is kind of insane. Like, they have the fastest, like, offensive skill positions in all of football. Tyreek is already the fastest receiver. Jalen Waddle might be the second fastest. And then you got Raheem Mostert as your running back. He's the fastest running back. Maybe Pacheco's faster, but either way, he's 1 or 2. So you give him all of that. It's no wonder, I mean, this defense can't keep up with speed. If there is one thing that anyone has learned, it's you can't coach speed.
Yep.
Some people have it, some people don't. You can make it a little better, but you can't teach someone how to run. I mean, you can teach someone how to run better, but you can't teach someone how to be fast. And so the Dolphins have that. They have been able to utilize it better than any other team. I'll talk about it more later with a certain other team that they will be playing this week. Mike McDaniel's been fantastic.
Yep.
I love him as a coach. He might be kind of a jerk bag if you just look at that one Bills game where he said, we're not going to have the misters on either side. We're just going to be in the shade and you're going to be in the sun when it's 110 degrees outside. So have fun with that, Buffalo. Is like half of them got sent to the hospital after that game for heat. So might not be the greatest dude in the world, but he wins. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to it in football, isn't that the only thing that matters?
Yeah. My favorite quote from him was when he said, yeah, we just wanted Justin Fields to stop rushing and he wouldn't listen. I think that was like...
And then you saw, there was the quote that just came out where he was talking about Tua. And he was like, yeah, Tua, your form sucks.
Yeah. He was like, it was goofy in high school or college or something, I think.
And it's like, this coach has such a good rapport with his players because a lot of coaches, if they tried to say something like that, it wouldn't work.
Yep.
McDaniel, it's him. That is who he is. He's just that sarcastic guy who just loves the people that he's with. And everybody rides with him. You're seeing it with the Dolphins and how successful they are. It's been so fun to watch. And I hope Tua can learn how to throw it downfield because I want him to shut me up. I don't want to have to keep. I don't want to have to keep calling him bad because I still don't think he's that good because he can only throw it effectively when it's like more than 5 yards or when it's less than 5 yards downfield. Which, granted, when he does that, best in all of football. Like he knows the short game better than any other team, and so I think Miami is the best team in that division. Not by a wide margin. The Bills are certainly very good. And honestly, if Josh Allen figures it out, I think it's kind of over for Miami. I'm very interested to see what happens in their final matchup of this year.
Yep.
I think that's going to be one that everybody has to have circled on their calendars. But I don't know, man. I really like this Dolphins team, and I am very happy that you agree with me.
Yeah, and they've beaten, like when you talk about divisional opponents, they've beaten the Pats, they've beaten the Bills, and their only divisional loss was to the Jets, but that was when Tua wasn't playing. And, yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Bills. I do agree that the Bills are right there. Like, I almost feel like it's the Bills' division to lose. And right now the Bills are currently up, 17-7 on the Pats. So, that's...
My prediction's not going too well right now.
No, I'm guessing you had the Pats winning.
I did. I didn't go with the Panthers the 1 week that they won, and I regretted it. And so I tried to make up for it and take the Pats, and now it's certainly I feel a fool.
You still got another half, 2-score game still.
Matt Jones isn't coming back from a 2-score game, let's be honest.
Don't ever count out Bill. But, man, and another thing, like, we talk about the NFC East. This division is, I think it's even better. I mean, the Bills, Dolphins, Pats, and Jets, all solid teams, obviously. And, like, I don't know, I feel like we always talk about the NFC East, like, in their teams and the overall record there, but this division is lethal.
Yeah, and I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's all there really is to it. I think there's a few, I wouldn't be that upset if someone takes the Jets as their best team because...
That's ridiculous.
I mean, I also think it's kind of ridiculous. But Mike White
it's the Bills or the Dolphins.
It's Mike White. Think about that.
Mike White.
So, but that will do it for this little bit. What I want to move to next, my favorite game of the weekend, the Jaguars came back in the fourth quarter to beat the Ravens. Shane, I mean, was this a bigger win for the Jags or a bigger loss for the Ravens?
I think you're going to like this one. This is a bigger win for the Jags.
Yes, sir, it is.
I got to agree with you here. I think the Jags, you needed this game to at least have a shot at the playoffs, because you go to 4-7 instead of falling to 3-8. And I feel like when you drop down to 3-8, kind of feels like it's over. You're out of it. 3-8 is, it's only one game worse than 4-7, but it's like you could still work with it almost. And I think the Ravens, with this loss, they'd still be the 4th seed if the season ended right now. The Jags, this, I think, was just a must-win game. Even if they won by just a point, they got it done. And the Jags had Lamar tweeting after the game to a fan on Twitter. I'm not sure if you saw that one. But Trevor Lawrence, best game of his career? Can we say that?
Hands down. And this was the best game of his career, which capped off what might just be the best month that he will ever have in his career. Trevor Lawrence was fantastic. But let's go Jags. How about them Jags? Oh, it is a great time to be alive if you like the Jacksonville Jaguars, because Trevor Lawrence has arrived. He looked absolutely fantastic in the fourth quarter. I don't think he made a single bad pass the entire time. He is an absolute legend. And he had Zay Jones that he was working with. Are we really going to act like he's throwing to the greatest guys in the world? That's not a very good receiver. He did the whole thing without Travis Etienne. Etienne was out for most of the game. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. The Jags still went out there. They got that dub. I kind of wanted to see, them continue to lose so they could get a better pick. But honestly, if Trevor Lawrence is going to play good, I'm not going to be upset about that, because that just sets him up for good things in the future. Trevor Lawrence, in the month of October, he was number 1 in the NFL in completion percentage. He was second in the NFL in passer rating, and he was second in the NFL in touchdown to interception ratio. What more can you ask out of the guy? The kid didn't have a single rookie. He didn't have a real rookie season. You heard his teammate Andrew Wingert talk about that whole thing with Urban and going to Doug Peterson. His own teammate basically said, "Yeah, honestly, this is basically Trevor's rookie year. Playing with Urban was like a lost season." And now now they got Dougie P. And everybody wants to die for Dougie P. They love this guy. I didn't really think it was going to be that crazy going into the year. I kind of underrated Dougie. I was wrong. He's turned that team around. This team has completely bought in. He has made Trevor Lawrence want to play football again, and Trevor looks incredible. There's nothing more I could ask about this team. It just brings me so much joy. I absolutely love watching them play good, and let's go Trevor Lawrence. We don't need a quarterback anymore. We got our guy. It's the first time in a very long time that I can actually say that.
He's here. He is here. This is your guy.
Trevor is here. This is our guy. This is our guy. I will take Trevor over just about any other young quarterback.
Yeah, he's looked great. That was that was a big win, and switching over to the Ravens, they just need to figure out what they're doing with Lamar, and they need to pay him. I believe you can't let him walk.
No, you can't. I think they might though.
That's what they should be focused on, and figuring out how to close games, because we see the stats that the amount of games that they've been in the lead and lost. That's their issues right now. And dropping this game, of course, that's a tough loss. You obviously you wanted to win that one, but not the biggest of deal. This win, we can really look at the Jags now and be like, okay, this team might be able to do some damage. And your guy, T-Law, yeah, he's looked great. So, good for you guys.
I will hop on the Ravens hate a little bit. They are 7-4 on the season. All 4 of those losses, they have led by multiple scores at some point in the game. 3 of them have come when they led by multiple scores in the fourth quarter. Yep. The only one that didn't, they were up 20 to 10 at half. So, I love Lamar. He's kind of looked pedestrian at best in fourth quarters.
Yep.
He's thrown 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. That's not good. I understand it's kind of cherry-picked because they do run a lot in the fourth quarter since they're always winning most of the time. But when they ask him to throw, he hasn't thrown it well. And you can kind of hold that against him. So he kind of has to play better. At the same time, though, they can't let him leave.
No.
He's the best thing. He's the only reason they're actually 7-4. I mean, the secondary still isn't very good. They don't have weapons on offense other than Mark Andrews.
Yep.
They have Harbaugh, but that's about it when it comes to other positives. So they really need to hold on to Lamar. If they let him leave, it's foolish. Although Detroit is calling his name. Love to see Lamar in Detroit. That would be electric.
What, you want Lamar over Jared Goff?
Maybe not. Jared Goff is a legend.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard for me to turn on my boy like that. But I really do love what I saw from the Jags. I do honestly. I mean, obviously they're not gonna do a whole lot for the rest of this year. They're not making the playoffs. They're not.
They can.
They statistically they can, but they won't. What I do really like what I have seen is Trevor Lawrence looks fantastic. I had my issues with him earlier in the year. I've kind of lost all of those. This is the best month of football I've ever seen him play, and he's not really going to have to worry about the whole cold weather kind of issue because he plays in Jacksonville.
Yep.
So it's always going to be nice. It will never not be nice. He will have perfect conditions pretty much the rest of the year. So it's not like you're going to really expect a big drop-off with him. The only thing you can kind of worry about is the one Jets game coming up in December. That's the only one where he's probably going to have to play in some cold, and it's probably going to be windy, and it probably won't be very fun.
Nope.
But, other than that, he's got an easy schedule when it comes to that whole kind of thing. He gets the Lions this weekend. That defense sucks. Objectively, it's bad.
Yep.
Trevor is going to light it up, especially if Jeff Okudah isn't playing. Good luck, Detroit. Have fun guarding Christian Kirk. How about that?
My guy, Christian Kirk.
Our guy, Christian Kirk.
Our guy, Christian Kirk. But yeah, they're gonna. You said they got the Jets at the end of the. That's gonna be a test for him.
That's the biggest test when it comes to just pure on weather. They have plenty of tough games left. They still got 2 against the Titans.
Oh yeah,
that's not easy.
Nope.
They got a Cowboys game. Their strength of schedule is not easy. They have 2 easy games against the Lions and the Texans. Other than that, they're playing 7-win teams. So it's tough. It's going to be a tough close to the year. I think best case scenario they go 2-4. But honestly, if they go 2-4 and Trevor looks good, I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah, because earlier in the year, I mean, we talked about him on here. He was not. You were.
I was still very worried in not liking what I was seeing from him. No longer do I think that. I think Trevor Lawrence has arrived. I think he has solidified himself as a legitimate young quarterback who is going to be good. There's a reason he was a generational talent prospect.
Yep.
There's a reason he was hyped as a number 1 draft pick before he even stepped a foot on Clemson. I mean, this kid is something special. His arm is finally showing now that Urban Meyer is gone.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's the best thing that ever could have happened to Jacksonville. And this week showed that Doug Peterson is ready to ride with this team. This team is ready to ride with him. This is 100,000% a bigger win for the Jags than it is a loss for the Ravens.
Yeah, I agree. And have we agreed on every topic so far?
I think we have. This is
what's going on here?
I don't like this.
Oh, no, on Odell.
Yeah, we guess we kind of disagree on Odell.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that doesn't count. But next topic, I'm interested to see if we agree on this one. Another young quarterback has potentially arrived. This one being Jordan Love. Is the Jordan Love era finally here? I mean, technically it's not because Aaron Rodgers is probably playing this weekend, but is it here?
Well, yeah. Not yet. Not yet. But I think Jordan Love is knocking on the door, and I gotta imagine he's probably got to be getting impatient. Just because how many more years can you just sit as just a backup and not touch the field, except for a game or 2 here and there. But yeah, you said Aaron Rodgers is playing this weekend, and Jordan Love, he came in the game, he looked very good. for a minute there, I was like, this would be crazy. Can he pull this off against the Eagles? And of course, like going against the Eagles, like that's a tough, probably the toughest matchup in the league. But I think the Packers need to figure out what they're gonna do with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's still got 2 years left on his deal, and this offseason, there's gonna be they're gonna have to really decide their future. Like, is Jordan Love your future? Have they seen enough out of him? I don't know. And if the Packers get eliminated, Jordan Love 100% should start every game from the moment they get eliminated, and even before that. Like, I just think Jordan Love needs reps. But if we're looking at the game on Sunday night, he looked good. Like, the one pass to Aaron Jones towards the sideline, that was a great pass. Aaron Jones just dropped it. So Jordan Love is knocking on the door for sure.
I 100% think it's not here, but it should be. I understand that they are paying Aaron Rodgers $50 million a year. I understand that he has won back-to-back MVPs and is a first-ballot Hall of Famer, potentially one of the greatest to ever play football. I understand all of that. However, when it comes to football, the goal is to win football games. I think, even if Aaron Rodgers can play, I think, honestly, Green Bay has a better chance of winning with Jordan Love than they do with Aaron Rodgers right now. You said it. He only had 9 throws. Those 9 throws were better than Aaron Rodgers for the entire game. Those 9 throws were better than Aaron Rodgers looked all year, let alone this game. Aaron Rodgers made 1 good throw the entire game. I understand statistically he was solid and they were in the game. Every ball that he tried to throw downfield was wobbly outside of the 1 touchdown to Aaron Jones. That was the only good pass I saw him make. Everything else was bad. Aaron Rodgers looked bad. I understand the game was close, but if you were watching those throws, they weren't good. He threw the first interception was horrible. That was the wobbliest ball I've seen since Peyton Manning's final season. Like, I don't understand how they can look at this and think with sound heads and sound reasoning that Aaron Rodgers puts this team in a better position to win a football game than Jordan Love right now. I have talked so badly about Jordan Love since he's been drafted, and I was saying for completely different reasons, granted, that he should be starting to open up this year. Granted, I was saying that thinking that he was going to be horrible and he would help them get a better pick because that's all I wanted. I'm at the point now I think Jordan Love should start because I think he's just straight up better than Rodgers at this point in his career, at least with the health that Rodgers is dealing with, because, I mean, he's got a broken thumb and broken ribs.
Yep.
That shouldn't be you shouldn't play football if you have both of those. The only reason he's playing right now is because he's the pettiest human alive. He is exclusively playing because he knows that if he doesn't, Jordan Love will steal his job. It's as simple as that. I think Jordan Love he looked fantastic. This is against the Eagles weren't playing prevent defense. They were legitimately playing to try and stop the Packers offense, and they couldn't because Jordan Love was throwing dimes. The best throw Jordan Love was doing so good that the one incompletion that he had on 3rd down, that was where he took the shot at the end zone, that ended up being incomplete. People were saying that was like they were picking at that throw because it was 3 inches behind Randall Cobb. That throw was on the run and 20 yards downfield.
Yep.
I don't know how you can look at that. Like, if you're getting criticized for a mistake that minor, you have to be doing something right. You have to be very talented because he put on an absolute clinic against the Eagles. He looked unreal. He looked like Aaron Rodgers. Honestly, Jordan Love was making throws that you see Aaron Rodgers make. Like, Rodgers hasn't done this all year. Jordan Love, and granted, a very brief amount of time, was doing things that we saw win Aaron Rodgers an MVP the last 2 seasons. Rodgers was making those same throws. He was throwing them in the breadbasket to Aaron Jones along the sideline the last 2 years. I honestly think Aaron Jones dropped that because he didn't think Jordan could do that. Honestly, I think he was more surprised because Jones has hands.
Yep.
And he's a great receiving back. He doesn't normally drop a ball that perfect. I just don't think he expected it to be that perfect because he was like, 12 left the game. I didn't think I was going to have to try and catch balls like this anymore. But Jordan Love can do this. Jordan Love is so much more talented than I gave him credit for. He's so much more talented than I think Matt LaFleur and the rest of the team gives him credit for. There is absolutely no reason, none whatsoever, that he shouldn't be playing Saturday or on Sunday against the Bears. I don't care what they are paying Aaron Rodgers. You have to figure out whether or not you want to give this fifth-year option to Jordan Love, because they don't have a whole lot of time. It's coming up this offseason, and they only have 5 games left. Mm-hmm. It's not like they can just wait this out and hope that they can figure it out. That time has passed. They have to make a decision soon. Maybe that comes after the bye, because they are on bye after this week. Maybe that's how they do it. But they're probably going to beat the Bears. There's just no world in which you can bench Jordan Love with the way that he just played and with all of the situations and circumstances around this quarterback room.
Yeah, and Jordan Love, like I said, he's got to be kind of getting impatient by now, and he knows how good he is. Like, he knows his worth and his potential. So if you're him, it's like, okay, hey, what are we doing here? Like, I've been sitting here just in the shadows of Aaron Rodgers these past few years. Like, I feel like I have potential. I know what I can do. Like, what are we doing here? Like, he wants to play, obviously. So I really think they should, these last few games, if they're out of the playoffs, give them the start. You got to. And in the Packers, side note, the Packers are playing the Bears. Of course Aaron Rodgers is going to start. Remember what he told the Bears audience last year?
He does effing own the Bears.
Yeah, so of course Aaron Rodgers is going to play and beat the Bears. But, yeah, Jordan Love, I think, surprised a lot of people. Because when I was watching the game, Rodgers went out. I'm like, okay, forget this game. But Jordan Love made a throw. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he makes another, and does it again. Then he did it again. I'm like, he's holding it down. And for a second, it was like, okay, because they weren't completely out of the game. Like, it was a tall task for sure, but they were a touchdown away from, like, having a shot.
Yep. So, that long touchdown brought it to a 7-point game. I mean, all they needed was a stop on defense, which, granted, they didn't get. But Jordan Love did his job.
Yep.
He led 2 drives. He scored on both drives. 1 touchdown, 1 field goal. I don't know what more you can ask out of a guy who's coming off the bench for the first time all year against the best team in football. Yep. I think he passed the test with flying colors. The fact that he is riding the bench against Chicago is absolute malarkey, if you ask me. I don't understand it. Honestly, I really don't. I think this is a perfect time to get Jordan Love because you have him out there and he gets his confidence up. Aaron Rodgers is going to win this weekend. It's going to happen. Not only does he own the Bears secondary is so beat up. Their defense is already horrible. So you add that into the mix. Rodgers is going to he's going to win. He's going to look good. It doesn't matter. And so it's just, I hate it. I hate it as a fan of this team. I hate it as just someone who tries to understand something because I don't. I don't.
Well, I think, yeah, they paid him an insane amount of money. So they must be feeling like, okay, this is our guy. This is the face of the franchise for all these years. Like, we just paid him $50 million a year. Like, he's going to start and play for us. And, like, they're probably also considering, okay, this is Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers here. Like, this is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But to your point, if you're looking at this year, he's been one of the worst in the league quarterbacks. Yep. So if you just take this sample size this year, which really is all that matters. Like, yes, sure, you said it. Two-time MVP. One of the best of all time. But you got to kind of look at what you got right now. And I don't know if they're doing that.
Yeah, and right now you have a guy with 9 fingers.
Yeah.
It's the thumb is the most important finger on your hand. It's the reason that humans can do almost everything that they do. And his is broken. It's no wonder he can't throw a football right now. I mean, everything he tried throwing downfield was wobbly and slow.
He was dying out there.
It was bad. I can't talk about this anymore. Something I will talk about is, did the Vikings just prove themselves as Super Bowl contenders after their win against the Patriots? Shane, what is your take on this?
My take is, I don't think so.
God, stop saying the same things that I want to say.
I don't know. Because the thing, okay, they beat the Patriots. That was a good win. But the loss to Dallas was really bad.
Did you just read my notes when you were doing this?
I did not.
I think you did.
I just think we're two intelligent human beings, and great minds think alike. But most of the time, mine thinks better. But that's what I'm looking at here. You lost 40-3 to Dallas. That's an exposing loss. And I think as a Giants fan, I can acknowledge that Cowboys are, to me, one of the best teams in the league. They shut down the Vikings in every way. So, and we're gonna look at some of the Vikings wins here. Well, first of all, they have one win that they won by more than 7 points, which was against your guys, the Packers. They beat the Lions by 4. They beat the Saints, Bills, and Commanders by 3. And then they beat the Dolphins without Tua. So, sure, they're winning games, and their record is their record, but Super Bowl contenders? I'm not so sure. I am not so sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think you literally just said everything that I planned on saying. I don't think they're quite there. I think they're close. They're certainly a good team. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I think they're the 4th best team in the NFC, but I don't think that makes you a Super Bowl contender. I think that loss against the Cowboys shows that they're good, like they're solid, but they're well below the upper echelon of talented football teams. I like the Vikings. I think one thing this game did prove is that that primetime Kirk can be good.
Yep.
I mean, Kirk Thuggins was on display. He's getting the custom grills made now.
Iced out Kirk.
Iced out Kirk has never looked better on a primetime game. So I think that shows something. But I don't think you can really look at this team as anything that serious. It's only 2 things you learn from that game is Jettis is really good and Kirk can win on a game that everyone sees. Like, we already knew Jettis was good. That's not new information. Like, I don't see Minnesota as a legitimate contender. I think they'll be a scary team in the playoffs. I think they can do damage to, like, the middle teams, but match them against the Cowboys, match against the Eagles, they're not winning. No. Not even close.
Yep.
I mean, they've already those are their 2 losses this year, and they were not good losses. Like, they looked bad against the Eagles early, and they looked absolutely horrendous against the Cowboys. I don't see them as a legitimate Super Bowl team. They'll probably win a game, but I don't think they'll win 2.
No. Yeah, I mean, of course you're doing something. You're 9-2. You're doing something right, but it's just so glaring to me. 40-3, you lost, and like I brought up their schedule, kind of being on the softer side. You face Dallas. Dallas has been rolling, and they just blown off the field. That game wasn't even close in any way, shape, or form, and it just kind of shows there's levels to this. Like you said, there's tiers, there's levels to this, and I don't think the Vikings are among those top 4, top 5 teams. I really don't. But like you said, they're a scary team. They can win a game or 2, and yeah, they're 9-2. Their point differential is only +5. So you add up all their games, they've won by 5 points. For a 9-2 team, I mean, that kind of tells a story, I feel like. So I don't know. I think they play my guys, the Giants. So that'll be a fun one. But I think, of course, Kirk is a gamer. He's gonna make plays and put them in position to win games. And Jettis, is he the best receiver in the league? Him or Tyreek?
He's up there. I think I do think it is between those 2. I think you can, dude, I wouldn't disagree with someone if they had him number 1. I think I still have him a little below Tyreek, but not by much. One thing I do want to mention, you said their point differential is +5. The Jacksonville Jaguars are +12, baby.
So the Jags are better than the Vikings. Confirmed.
Objectively, the Jags are better.
Over.
I mean, that's the only number that matters. Ignore the wins. Point differential is the only thing. And the Jags have it. Got it by 7. How about them Jags? Duval County.
how about them Jags being better than the Vikings by that stat?
The only one that's important. But moving on to a bit of a look ahead at this upcoming games this weekend. We got Chiefs and Bengals coming up. How are you feeling heading into this game? Because it kind of feels like this is one of these new matchups that you kind of look forward to on the calendar every single year now.
Yeah, this is one that's circled for sure. I mean, I think the Chiefs are bound to lose a game. I'm taking the Bengals in this one. I don't know. I believe Jamar is playing. I believe he's on schedule to play because he was questionable last week.
He's still listed as questionable. He hasn't had a full practice in, but he has been getting limited practice in all week, and he says he plans on playing.
Yeah, so you roll him back out there, and we talk about top receivers in the league. He's up there.
Yep, he's top 5 when he's healthy.
100%. So in this one, I'm taking the Bengals in a close game over the Chiefs. That's my prediction.
I really don't like how in sync we are right now. It's uncanny, but I'm with you. I honestly, I mean, I like the Chiefs.
Me too.
I like the Bengals more. I mean, I love Joe Burrow. I love my LSU boys. Go Tigers until I die. I legitimately think the Bengals, I don't know, they're not better than the Chiefs, but they match up pretty well with them. They played them twice last year. They won both times. Burrow has yet to lose against Patrick Mahomes. I really love what the Bengals have going, and Joe Mixon is questionable. He might not play. He's been getting limited practices in, but still coming back from a concussion. I think they need to get a full practice in before they can let him ride for a game. So maybe he won't play, but honestly, I don't think it matters. Because who are the Chiefs going to have to cover Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd? No one. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed is nice, but he's on the IR. Not the IR, but he's on the injury report. So he's not 100% either. So really, I don't see this Bengals team losing to Kansas City. I think it'll be close, but I really like the Bengals this weekend. Maybe I'm insane. Who knows? The Chiefs are still probably the best team in football.
I agree.
I don't know what it is. I just really like Burrow. There's something with him where as long as he's on the field, I think the Bengals can and will win every game.
Yeah, and the game also is in Cincinnati, and it's a 4:30 game, which that game should have been the Sunday night game, I think.
Should have. What is this? It's what? Cowboys Colts on Sunday night? Yep. That's a horrible one. I'll probably pass.
Yeah, that's an easy pass. But, I mean, this matchup is definitely, I'm looking at it here, the best game of the weekend. And like I said, I think the Bengals can just have the Chiefs number for this game. And I'm taking the Bengals in we'll do a one-score game.
It'll be a one-score game. It'll be close. I do think it's going to be a one-score game and Burrow's going to lead a game-winning drive. That's the vibes that I'm getting off of this. I really like the Bengals here. One other game preview that I want to look at here is the 49ers and the Dolphins. Do we kind of see this as sort of a Super Bowl preview?
Super Bowl preview, no. I wouldn't go that far. The Dolphins, I think the Dolphins have a better shot at the Super Bowl than the 49ers. I'll say that. But I don't think the Dolphins are going to the Super Bowl. But I think this one, I think the Dolphins win this one kind of easily. I don't know. I don't think this one's going to be as close as the Chiefs and the Bengals. The game is in San Francisco, but I don't think it matters. The Dolphins, to me, are just that good right now, and I see the Dolphins winning this one by 2 scores.
No, I'm happy we finally have some contention in this because I disagree. I think the Dolphins are really good. I feel like we've both already kind of stated that. I really like the Dolphins this year. The only worry I have with them right now, Teron Armstead is hurt. He is one of the best offensive linemen in football. The Dolphins' offense did not look anywhere near as good when he was out of the game against Houston. There's It's unsure if he's going to play. He said that he wants to. He said he plans on it. But as of right now, it's still up in the air. If he misses this game, I think the Niners are going to hammer Tua in that offense. And I think this Niners defense is good enough to slow down this Dolphins receiving core that has yet to be slowed down by anyone, really. I'm very interested to see how this game goes. I really like this matchup. I do think it could be a Super Bowl preview. I think these two teams are very similar. I think they are the two best offensive supporting casts in all of football. I think that's a fairly safe thing to say. I think it's interesting because one team has done a really good job at turning that into a very good offense, and the Dolphins, the other team, has not been able to turn that into a very good offense, the 49ers. They've been solid, but, they just scored 13 points against the Saints. Yep. The Saints suck.
And that was enough to win.
Yeah, it was. It was, because that's the thing. This Niner defense is really good. It's number one in the NFL in a lot of categories. They're allowing the least amount of points per game, which really is the only thing that matters. And they're better at that than anybody. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Niner defense absolutely wrecks house on this Dolphin offense and McCaffrey messes around and has 2 touchdowns, because that's Christian McCaffrey. That's not really it's not that unlikely.
No.
And I don't know if Debo is going to play. I know he's hurt right now. I'm not sure if he's ruled out yet, but even if he is, they still got Kittle and Ayuk. So I think they're going to be fine with that. I really like this game. I think this might even be better than the Bengals-Chiefs. It's going to be close, and I think the Niners got this.
Yeah, couple of good. That's 2 great games for Sunday.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Me too. Also looking forward to Jags-Lions. That's going to be an absolute beautiful game for me.
Who are you rooting for there, the Jags?
I'm rooting for the Jags. It's tough. It's tough to root for the Lions to lose. I think ultimately I can play it as I want the Lions to lose for a better draft pick. I think that's how I can look at it. But yeah, go Jags all the way.
Go Jags.
Let's go Jags. Our final thing before we head out for the night, our favorite part of the show, is the Russell Wilson Least Valuable Player Award. Shane, who gets that honor for you this week?
I really, really struggled with this one to not give it to the guy that this award is named after, but Russell Wilson was so awful this game and all year, really, if we're looking at that. But
there's a reason it's named after him.
It's a reason it's named after him. But, come on. Russell Wilson, 142 yards on 35 passes, 29.1 QBR. You lost 3 in a row. You dropped to 3-8. You scored 20 points in 6 of their last 7 games. That was awful. Is this the worst signing in football history? The worst contract in football history?
I think this is just the worst offseason in football history, because not only did they sign him to a deal, they traded for him in the first place, and now Seattle is about to have a top 5 pick in the draft, and coming off one of the best rookie draft classes, one of their best drafts, just the best rookie drafts in general. And so you take that, and then you add on this Bronco pick that is going to be very high, with the fact that Denver just gave him a lot of money for the next 5 years now.
Yep.
It might be the worst ever. I'm so happy that you're giving this to Russ. He deserves it.
Yeah, and I really like to stick to this past week's game. But while we're at it, the Broncos' offense this season, 14 offensive touchdowns on 128 drives. That is bad enough for the worst ratio since 2012. So, and you got the defensive lineman yelling in his face. And did you hear the thing about Sierra threw the birthday party for him? And about half the team showed up. The atmosphere is so bad up in Denver right now because of him. So, yeah, man, Russell Wilson takes LVP by a mile.
I was very close to taking Russell Wilson for mine. Instead, I will go to one that is much closer to my heart, which is the Packers' run defense. It's my least valuable player. They allowed 363 rushing yards in a single game. Jalen Hurts had over 100 in just the first quarter alone.
It's pretty crazy.
According to Matt LaFleur, they missed 22 tackles. That feels low. I watched the entire fourth quarter and I didn't see them tackle anybody once. It felt like every time anybody was stopped, it's because they pushed them out of bounds. It was so embarrassing. I have never seen a defense more incompetent when it comes to purely putting your arms around someone and making them fall down. When you describe it like that, it's not very hard. Obviously, apparently, it is, because the Packers can't do it. I understand they're very beat up. Eric Stokes is out. Devondre Campbell is out. Rashawn Gary is out. Those are big losses. But I'd hope your backups could tackle someone, because no one could. Kenny Clark got absolutely made to look like a child by Jason Kelce the entire game. He got bullied the whole time. That's supposed to be one of the best D tackles in football. I don't think I heard his name once because I don't know if he did anything. And so this whole team truly put on a display for the ages. They gave up more yards on the ground than Josh Jacobs had, and he had 303 yards in the entire game. Like, how? I don't understand it. It hurts. It hurts so much. My goodness, this team never ceases to amaze me. Honestly, I don't know how it's possible. It's truly an impressive feat that once again this team continues to absolutely be a pitiful organization, and I was very close to giving it to Matt LaFleur for saying he'd start Aaron Rodgers again. I wanted to, but I instead have to settle for this Packer run defense that gave up 363 yards rushing in a single game. Amazing.
It's a good pick.
It is a good pick. Good job, Packers. Congratulations. Keep on doing you, I guess. It's certainly not something you should be very proud of. But that is going to do it for us here tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us on this victory lap. And before we head out, Shane, I would like to wish you best of luck this season, because I know track has its first meet of the year coming up on Saturday. Heading to St. Lawrence. You got some great news about the 4x2. You're going to kill it.
Sir, I appreciate it.
Always will. And so I would like to thank everybody for joining us on the Victory Lap here tonight. Continue to orange the world for the rest of this week.